Hi everybody, welcome back to Room with a Review, ground level, and here I'm featuring the clip-on eyelet. This is a generic name for it, clip-on, but when I came across it, it was called the clip-on magic eyelet. So the manufacturer of this sort of titled it the magic eyelet because of its versatility. It can clip onto any form of shelter system around the hem of your tarp, any sort of covering, and anything else that you can imagine that you need an eyelet fixing onto whatever item, whether it's a shelter, tarp, basha, or anything else for that matter. This has a real versatility of it, so hence called the magic eyelet clip-on. Here there's more of a permanent fixture, the normal grommet that you'd fix just around the hem of your tarp or shelter, or anything you need fixing to the ground, or something that might be lifted up around the hem itself. As you can see featured here, that's on the hem of my tarp on the shorter length, and there's a clip-on that I always leave on the hem of my tarp. Anyway, I'm going to feature the versatility of this and crack on with how it works. Okay, the clip-on, how does it work? Okay, there's two parts to it. There's no loose fixings, there's no sort of separate bits that need attachment. Basically this piece is all moulded into one, and this piece also, so it's just two parts to it. This piece here slides in and out through this gap here. You might have heard the click. I'll just let you hear the sort of like the ratchet noise, and you push that and it loosens it. There's a sort of a recess here that catches on this to stop it from going out any further, so they always stay attached. Basically it will take anything up to 5mm thickness, so it's really good for tarp and shelter systems, and the versatility, you can place it anywhere. So once you put whatever material you want fixed here, you just slide that along, and this little groove ratchet of this spring-loaded prong here gets fixed underneath a protrusion that's underneath that bit here that I'm pressing with my finger. So I just loosen it again so you can see. That's it open. The material will go in. You'll slide that along until it's firm. And then these two loops marry up. And as long as you have wherever you want the eyelet to fix through both eyelets, you pull on that and it makes the grip stronger. So to demonstrate the principle behind it, I'm just using this hook from a bungee cord. It can be it could be the paracord that's fixed through here. If it's ground level, it could be a tent peg that's going through. But here, just to show you the principle of it, that will hook through both eyelets. Now that's married up. Of course, if the material was between the two clamps, I wouldn't have to hold it, and that would be the firm fix. But obviously just holding it there with finger and thumb and just pulling that, so the tension pulling this eyelet a little bit further up, because it doesn't quite marry, you can see here, it doesn't quite marry with the base plate. So that's specifically so that when whatever fixing you have going through the eyelet, it has to try and pull it up to marry with this back plate loop, which in turn pulls this top plate, the movable one on top of the base plate, stronger to grip that and clamp it tighter. Just take that out, and then just to loosen it off, you can imagine if you loosened your paracord or whatever fixing, you're just left with a tarp and this eyelet. Then you just press that spring-loaded lever, that releases, the grooves come away from the protrusion under here, opens up, and it loosens whatever you had originally fixed. So you can put these on and off as and when you want. And to see, well, how do these two clamps grip? Because if they were flat surfaces, then it might slide out. The top plate with what I'd call the little ratcheted spring-loaded prong is flush, is reasonably flat, except for the moulding mark, but that's, in principle, that's flat. But the base plate, if I just turn that and the light catches it, you can see it's toothed. It's got protrusions on the base plate there. So of course, whatever you have between the two clamps, the top plate, which is smooth, squeezes against the little protrusion teeth of the underplate, and that's what creates the grip through there. Okay, let's see it in situ with actually using it. Notice the tarp will come up to the edge. and just hold that in place so it doesn't scuff up or gather up. Keep it flat. What I've found is if you just press around the edge, that will keep it flat on the base plate, and then just squeeze that through. There's a little butt end here just to push, to give you that extra effect to push it in tighter. That's gripped. Whatever you're fixing through the eyelets, and that's just pulled up a little bit more, the top plate, to squeeze even firmer the grip between both plates. And there's your fixing. Then to loosen it, just hold the side, get ready to pull that little protrusion here, press the spring-loaded prong, and then just pull it out. It releases. You'll have seen me use this when I called this the Magic Eyelet on my video called Stealth Wild Camp Trang Your Army Cooking, and I actually utilised it on the top surface so I could shape my shelter and sort of box myself in, where it was sort of like a pyramid type style, but it was then box shaped as well, and I put it not around the hem but on a part that I wanted elevated, was able to squeeze that on, position it, and as you can see, this isn't in the hem, it can be actually lifted up to create whatever shape you want. So you can have a multitude of these depending on how many fixings you've got that you can attach these eyelets to make a box shaped shelter, or just to make it as and how you want really. So that's the versatility of this. Okay, and one final thing on the clip-on, and this is my own personal take on this, and something that's not too much of a concern but definitely something to consider. If you're using the clip-on around the hem, if for any reason the pulling and the grip fatigues the material, then it's not going to really make much difference around the hem itself. But if you were to use it on the upper surface where you're going to be sheltered underneath, and it were to fatigue the material, then it might leave sort of not necessarily a tear but a gap or something for water ingress to actually come through the material. So just an example, I mean here I've got gaffer tape that I used along the mid hem of my tarp. It was sealed anyway, but I just wanted to reinforce it. Plus as well, if I do need to use it, I can peel it off and there's still a bit of stickiness there if I need to use it for binding. But anyway, that's another story. But you can reinforce it by putting something like gaffer tape, which then protects the original material, either the underside of it or the overside, knowing the reinforcements underneath. So then when it grips, there's less chance of it fatiguing the material. Just a consideration. I've not been affected by it, but it's something I would look for in the future, just in case. If it was a windy night and your shelter was blowing around, this might actually, the fixing eyelet wouldn't necessarily come off, but it might actually start to strain and fatigue the material it's attached to. Again, just my take on it. It's something that I would personally consider, so I'm always prepared, because I've always got shed loads of this stuff with me anyway, wrapped around the sheath of a knife, boot of the car, whatever. So two things, always have some duck gaffer tape with you as well. And finally, the permanent fix around your hem of a grommet eyelet. There you can see I've got it on my tarp here. Along this is a 2 meters by 3 meters, along this 2 meter length, halfway through there was no eyelet, so I made that myself. Me personally, I wanted to reinforce this, so I got some fabric, reinforced camo duct tape, made a fold over it, and then used this as a template. Normally in principle you just place that underneath, place that over the top, hit it with a bat and a hammer or something perpendicular down, and it's supposed to make the hole. In my experience that doesn't normally happen, so what I did was this. So what I did, once I knew the place on the hem that I wanted the grommet to go, I placed the base plate underneath it, and as I pushed the material on, I could see where the circular pressure was of the base plate underneath. Then I got a brightly coloured felt tip and just scuffed it round, and I was actually left with predominantly the circle size. Then inside the circle I placed the tarp on a firm surface, got a very sharp knife, and with the tip of the knife within the circle made an equidistant cross cut. So then when I put the base plate underneath, the top part of the grommet over the top, pushed it through, it's got a little bit of a recess here and a protrusion halfway down, so that sort of snaps into place as you heard that. And then with the washer that's in between, it creates the watertight seal. And plus as well, the material that was wedged inside here made it firmer, as you can see in that one. I know there are brass ones of these you can get, they're a little bit smaller, you can get packs from 10 to 100, and it comes with a little tool that you use to sort of pressurise it. But these being sort of plastic, I just wanted something. I bought a card of these, 10 of them for £3 from a well-known high street shop. I have seen these priced for up to £1 each, just for one. These, the clip-on, is you can get them anything from £1 each to, depending on the dealer, maybe sort of £5 for two. So hunt around. This little bit bulky, but I always carry around about at least half a dozen of these with my shelter kit, regardless of whether it's a Tarp, Basha, 10. I've always got these because you never know when it's going to be good to use them. And also I'll carry a couple in my EDC as fastenings for what we would use mainly for our shelter systems. So thanks for watching, appreciate your interest, and I'll catch you in another video soon. Okay, for me personally, I think there's one slight drawback to these, something to definitely consider. Around the hem of your tarp, using the fixing as demonstrated, what the hell does that mean?